So this is a video that is going to be thrown together and edited together so quickly, but still probably 2 days later after everybody else, but you know, it's the weekend for me. And it's got so little planning. Normally I have notes scribbled down. There's no notes. It's just going to be me rambling for a couple of minutes, probably. And it's, of course, on Sony's big announcement that from 2028, they will no longer be making physical discs of their games. It will be digital only. So take that as you will. It's probably the dawn of the PlayStation 6, no physical games. And I will say, as a gamer, as a physical collector of games, I'm a bit gutted. Don't get me wrong, I do have a digital library of games on both PlayStation and in my Steam account, but I am predominantly a physical game collector. I very much am very old-fashioned that if I own something, I want to hold it in my hands. I want it to be there. That's kind of why I don't like buying digital. I only buy digital if there is no other option. So yeah, as a physical game collector, I'm a bit gutted. I mean, I will put some footage, hopefully, in this video of my physical game collection. It's sort of, I still have all my games going back to the PlayStation 1. I have some of my favourite games framed and on the wall. So it's like, yeah, it's a bit of a gutter for me. I'm not so naive that I thought that physical gaming would go on forever. Of course, it's not. We're going into a very, very digital age. It's just sort of building more and more speed. I thought for the next generation of consoles, for the PlayStation 6, it would sort of be, well, we're going to reduce, how many physical copies of games there are. We're going to, scale back production of physical games. And that would have been understandable. I would have totally got that. I did also think that before it was announced that, no more physical games for the PlayStation 6, because let's face it, if Sony have said it, there is a high probability, Xbox and Nintendo will follow. Maybe not straight away. I mean, it's kind of been a bit of a... It hasn't gone down well with a lot of people. So whether Xbox and Nintendo want to risk damage to their reputation like Sony have done, maybe they'll hold off for a little while. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think I did see physical gaming maybe going more of a niche kind of thing when it came to gaming. You maybe pay a bit more of a premium for a physical edition, but you get a bit more with that physical edition. You maybe pay a bit more to have that physical disc, and I would have been fine with that. I totally would have been fine with that. You see it happening more and more with films on 4K. And I'm fine with that. It's like, you get your little book, you get your poster, you get whatever. I would have been fine with that with gaming. But to sort of go, from 2028, Sony will not be releasing any more games, and they are the gatekeeper of printing those games on PlayStation. It's a very unique choice. Like I said, I did see it coming, just not quite yet. I think, in my mind, I don't think consumer rights are totally protected when it comes to digital digital purchases yet. I think the wording around it really, really needs to be changed. You buy a digital license to a game. You don't own that game. You own that game as long as, Sony or the publisher wants you to have that game. There's so many examples of games that are being pulled from the store where it's just like that game's gone and you no longer can play that game. I think, as it stands to me, buying a license to a game is more like a long-term rental agreement. And I think there's very different terminology in buying a license and saying you're renting something. When you rent something, you agree to rent something for an agreed time frame. When you used to go and rent a film from Blockbusters, it's like you would have that film for, you'd have your video or then your DVD when it was DVDs, or your game, because you used to be able to rent games. It would be, you would have it for 2 days. 3 days, whatever it was. And it was the agreement that after that 2-3 days you would give it back. I think the difference with a digital license now is you don't know when that could be taken away. It might never be taken away. It might be taken away in a few years. And I think we're starting to see that happening more and more. It's sort of only was it earlier this week, last week, where Sony had an agreement with Studio Canal for films, and that licensing agreement between them came to an end. So Sony just sent out a mass email and went, right, all of these films you will no longer be able to watch anymore on your PlayStation systems, which you legally bought however many years ago in good faith that you would be able to watch it forever. I think things like that really need to be addressed as far as consumer rights go, because I think that is still very much all up in the air. And it's not just, I think it's not just, games where this is a problem. I think it's films and books, and I don't think we're at the start of this new all digital life and way of living that we're heading towards. We do still have some form of physical media, but I do think consumer rights really need to be adjusted a bit more. But I suppose it's a time will tell on that one. I think another big issue with this whole going digital only with Sony is they are already in a little bit of trouble because they have a monopoly on their digital store, and they have removed the ability to buy key cards, like go into a shop, buy a card with a code on, redeem it. They already took that away, and so it's just like you are very much at their mercy for how much you want to pay. And that is probably why I do not have the biggest digital library at the minute, because I will look on the Sony PlayStation Store and I will see how much a game is digitally, and then I will go and look at Amazon, and I will go and look at the second-hand market, and wherever I find it cheaper, I'll buy it, because that's how it tends to work. You want to buy the cheapest version possible of things, and people are kind of going, oh no, it won't work that way. Sony will still have sales, and it's like, yeah, Sony have sales now, and quite often Sony sales are still not quite as cheap as going and buying something secondhand. And why would you want to pay for it brand new and digitally when you could just buy it secondhand and then possibly trade it on? So not that, although I'm saying that, I have never traded one of my games. I've traded duplicates of my games, which I know that probably doesn't make sense. Why do you have a duplicate of a game? But that's by the by. Yeah, so it's a thing. It's a thing at the minute. I can't see Sony completely doing a U-turn on this. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they've set their mind that they want to go all digital for the PlayStation 6. I do wonder if there is something in the PlayStation 6 where they've really made that decision. I know there's a lot of speculation that there's going to be a handheld that you get alongside it, and how would you make discs work alongside a handheld, which is going to be all digital licenses or streaming or whatever. But yeah, it's an interesting future for I don't even just think just for gaming. I think for media in general, because if games are going to go all digital, it won't be long before films and stuff do. It's a really weird time for media, because at the same time you're kind of seeing a resurgence in physical media with things like records and CDs and things like that. People are starting to not want to go down the streaming route for everything, which I get, because there are so many streaming services and you don't own things. And yeah, it's like you see stories about people setting up little old kind of, not blockbusters, but you know what I mean, rental stores for films and things, and it's just like, yeah, this is starting to make a slight comeback, and it's like, I get that. But yeah, it is an interesting time for media, for games, for Sony, which, brave to be the first one to stick their head above the barrier and kind of go, yeah, we're doing this. Can they recover? I think they probably will eventually. They did it after the disaster of the PlayStation 3 at the time. Really bounced back with the PlayStation 4. Went really weird live service with the PlayStation 5. But yeah, I think it's a time will tell. Am I going to start changing my buying habits? Probably not yet. As long as there are still physical copies, I will still buy physical copies. I still think there is a market for physical copies of games. I mean, was it Resident Evil Requiem where lots of retailers were selling out of their physical stock? I still think in some instances there is a market. So it's a time will tell. it's an interesting one. And yeah, so this has been just a bit of a rant. But if you've enjoyed my little rant, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content.